You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
The options market can be a confusing place. Sorting through the daily avalanche of data, alerts, updates, articles, and analysis to find the most important information is an overwhelming prospect. But now you have help. Welcome to the Options News Rundown, the only program that breaks through the noise to bring you the most important news and information from the world of options. Every day, we bring you the top 5 option stories curated by the options experts at theoptionsinsider.com, the premier source for options information. The Options News Rundown is brought to you by Market Taker Mentoring, the leader in options trading education. Get trader education, daily trade ideas, and more with a free 1-week trial of Market Taker Mentoring's Live Advantage Group coaching class by visiting markettaker.com/insider. And now it's time to break through the noise. It's time for your Options News Rundown.
Good morning. Today is Wednesday, February 6th, 2019. This is your Options News Rundown. I'm Dan Passarelli. Our first story today is from investing.com. It's the top 5 things to know in the market on Wednesday. First thing to know is Markets Digest Trump's State of the Union. In his annual State of the Union speech to a joint session of Congress on Tuesday, U.S. President Donald Trump said that illegal immigration was an urgent national crisis and reiterated his vow to build a border wall, raising the prospect of another government shutdown. Building a wall along the border with Mexico to keep migrants from entering the country illegally was a central part of Trump's presidential campaign. But the Republican-controlled Congress didn't approve money for it in the first half of his term, and Democrats, who now control the House, have rejected his funding request of $5.7 billion. Trump also called on Congress to pass legislation to boost the nation's aging infrastructure, without providing details on how to go about paying for it or how much it would cost. Commenting on the ongoing U.S.-China trade conflict, Trump said any agreement with Beijing must include real structural change to end unfair trade practices, reduce our chronic trade deficit, and protect American jobs. Senior U.S. and Chinese officials are poised to start another round of talks in Beijing next week to push for a deal on American intellectual property and avert a March 2nd increase in U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods. 2 people familiar with the plans said. Second thing to know today is U.S. futures pointed to a lower open pre-open. U.S. stock futures pointing to a slightly lower open as the lack of surprises in Trump's State of the Union address allowed weak economic data in Europe to grab the spotlight. European stocks were lower after weak German manufacturing orders for December, with banks and automakers leading the losses. Earlier, shares in Asia closed mostly higher in subdued trade, and several markets in the region remain closed for the Lunar New Year holiday. The third thing to note today is GM highlights another busy day of earnings. In earnings, most of the focus will fall on General Motors, which reports before the bell. The Detroit-based automaker is expected to post earnings per share of $1.24 on revenue of $36 billion, according to analysts polled by investing.com. GM raised its profit guidance for 2018 last month and said its 2019 profit would grow thanks to the resilience of 2 of its largest markets, the US and China. The fourth thing to note today is Fed speakers are on tap. A pair of Federal Reserve officials are due to make public remarks today as investors look for further hints into the outlook for monetary policy in the months ahead. Fed Governor Randall Quarles will speak about bank stress testing at the Council for Economic Education in New York. That's at 6:05 p.m. Eastern. But most attention will fall on Fed Chair Jeremy Powell, who will be speaking at a town hall meeting for teachers in Washington, D.C. at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Fed last week signaled that its 3-year drive to tighten monetary policy is close to an end due to rising headwinds to the economy. The Fed's announcement left market expectations for interest rate hikes this year hanging by a thread and raised the chances of a cut in 2020, according to Investing.com's Fed Rate Monitor tool. On Wednesday, on the data front, we'll see U.S. trade deficit figures, productivity data, and unit labor costs at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. That's out already. The U.S. dollar index was up 0.1% at 95.92. In the bond market, U.S. Treasury prices inched higher, pushing yields a tad lower across the curve, with the benchmark 10-year yield falling to 2.68%. And the fifth thing to know today is EIA's weekly oil supply report is in focus. In commodity markets, the U.S. Energy Information Administration will release its official weekly oil supplies report for the week ended February 1st at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. That's out already. Analysts expected the EIA to report a gain of around 2.1 million barrels in crude supplies. It confirmed that it would be the third straight weekly build in domestic oil inventories. The American Petroleum Institute said on Tuesday that U.S. crude inventories increased by 2.5 million barrels last week. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were down 61 cents or 1.1% at $53.05, $53.05 that is, a barrel. International Brent crude futures were at $61.34 a barrel, down 64 cents or 1%. Our second story today comes by way of CNBC.com. Weekly mortgage applications fall 2.5%, despite a sharp drop in interest rates. Mortgage demand continued to weaken, with home buyers retreating the most last week. Overall mortgage application volume fell 2.5% last week, compared with the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association's seasonally adjusted index. Volume was nearly 10% lower than a year ago. Purchase volume pulled back the most, with those applications falling 5% for the week and 2% annually. The signals are mixed, as real estate agents are reporting a surge in potential buyer activity through open houses in the past few weeks. Home sales fell at the end of the year, but so did mortgage rates, and agents report seeing higher demand in direct response to lower rates. Our final story today is from Investing.com. Tesla cuts Model 3 price for a second time this year. Tesla Inc. said on Wednesday it was lowering the price of its Model 3 sedan for the second time this year. Moves that come in the wake of Tesla's losing a tax credit that made its cars more affordable for U.S. buyers. The company is ramping up production of the Model 3 and trying to make it more accessible for mainstream car buyers. Tesla has also been cutting costs as it looks to turn in profits this year. A U.S. tax federal credit began phasing out for Tesla in January, effectively raising the price of the cars by $3,750. Tesla said on Tuesday it had cut the Model 3 price by $1,100, following a cut by as much as $2,000 in January. That leaves the starting price of a Model 3 at $42,900, still substantially above the $35,000 price Tesla Chief Executive Officer Elon Musk originally promised. Musk told a Twitter user that the company is doing everything we can to drop the Model 3 price to $35,000 without credit. It's a super hard grind, he wrote. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is news that you can use for today, Wednesday, February 6th, 2019. Your Options News Rundown. I'm Dan Passarelli. Trade smart and have a great day.
The Options News Rundown is brought to you by Market Taker Mentoring, the leader in options trading education. Get trader education, daily trade ideas, and more with a free one-week trial of Market Taker Mentoring's Live Advantage Group coaching class by visiting markettaker.com/insider.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.